What's up, y'all? We have Lance and Brittany Coffman on today from Forever Home Inspection out of Tulsa, Oklahoma. Just an amazing couple, an amazing business that has grown over 4 years exponentially. So they have a ton of wisdom, and they have a kind of a refreshing, unique, independent way of looking at their business and how they do things. A ton of stuff in here that you can learn from. So listen to all of it and take their perspective. A lot to gain here. So hope you enjoy it, and we'll talk to everybody soon. Thanks.
So you're out in Colorado, is that right?
Yep, in Denver.
Uh-huh.
Just went back into level 3 shutdowns, or whatever you want to call it, safer at home.
Really?
Yep. How about you guys?
No. What's Wild West down here in Oklahoma? So.
Yeah, it's true. Life like normal. Yeah, regular life.
Nobody. I mean, it's not normal, but at the same time, there's more things open and people are doing more than.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think where you are. So are y'all shut down because of COVID mostly, or because of fires and storms? Like, what's the?
Yes, all the above, everything. Yeah, but it is Denver. Yeah, Denver shut down, Denver County or Denver proper, because of rise in COVID. Other cities and counties will probably follow suit. But it kind of feels like not much changed because we've, at least where I live, we've kind of just been staying at home and working anyway. So it's kind of just reverting back.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So what's life been like for you all? Like these last, I mean, gosh, I like everyone I'm talking to now, I like asking all the way back to like March, April, because we all kind of we all went through that together, I think, as an industry and as business owners. So yeah, take me back.
Yeah. So that was really interesting because our inspectors work with us as contractors, and at that point, when everything shut down, it was Lance, and then we had two inspectors on our team, and we were only in Tulsa. And so, they were asking us a lot of questions like, hey, should I apply for this grant? If I apply for this grant and I get it, I can't work for you. Can you guarantee that you're going to be able to give me work? And I was like, I have no idea. And so Lance and I,
all the above and none of the above.
When we went into business, one of the things that we promise to each other is that we will always take care of the people that work within our organizations. And so we figured out, okay, how many inspections do we need to pay our bills? And then we're just going to live as slim as possible so that we can still provide work. And we were closed for a week.
Maybe.
A
week and a half, 2 weeks, yeah.
And it was like, okay, we need 5 inspections for Lance to do in order for us to pay our bills. Everything else is going to go to our people. And that's what we did. And nobody in our organization applied for the grants. We just hunkered down and we all sort of made the sacrifices that we needed to make. And then once the state of Oklahoma said that real estate was essential and all auxiliary services to real estate was essential, we were
just the heat got turned up.
It was just like dialed up to 100. So we've actually grown at a rate that we just cannot believe during this time. It's been wild.
I have the figure in front of me, but it's a very large percentage from where we were last year to this year, which is weird to kind of use that as your metric for growth in a year pandemic, because you're like, where we were last year, where are we at this year? We're like, where are we going to be in 2021, thinking of what happened this year. So, I mean, but it's been on the incline ever since. So.
These year-over-year comps are going to be crazy for everybody. They're going to be so hard to extrapolate anything from. No, and we've obviously been together for the ride. Let's give people your quick kind of intro as to, who you are, where you're from, when you got started. Because I know you're Spectora OGs, but I want everyone to hear kind of, when you guys got started.
Okay, so in 2016, we were like, listen, we are just tired of working for the man.
Who was the man at the time?
I had a great job. Lance was like just trying to figure out, he had decided at that point he didn't want to be in higher education, and it was just like going to be really hard to make the kind of life that we wanted to make.
Mm-hmm.
in education. But praises to everyone that's in education, because we adore you and what you do is amazing. And so it was really a strategic move. It wasn't like, oh, hey, we've got a passion for home inspections.
Right. And that's totally okay. Yeah.
It was really strategic. It was, okay, what in our state, what is the industry where people are aging out at a really rapid rate? What is the industry that, the time frame that it takes to get into that industry isn't like 6 years, that we can really fast pace this into a full-fledged company and then duplicate over and over again. And it just kept coming back to home inspections. So that's what we did. We decided, listen, we're gonna do home inspections. And in 2017, Lance quit his job, went full in. And I think it was 2017 that we joined Spectora as well, if I'm right. And it just, if you look at our stats, it's just like up. And I come from a background in marketing, and he comes from a background in sales and education. And so it just, like, I have my lane and he has his lane. And we just, from the very beginning, decided we're going to keep this thing really simple. We're gonna start and run a debt-free company so that all of the decisions that we make can be made really quickly. And then that was it. And then in 2018, we started adding inspectors and nailed down our processes. And now we have 5, let's see, 1, 2, I have to count them, 3, 4. We have 5
or 6 that are licensed
or 6
in this
in
area
Tulsa.
here.
We're gonna have we have 3 onboarding in Oklahoma City. We have 2 onboarding in Ardmore, Oklahoma.
Which is all southern, so it just covers the entire state of Oklahoma right now.
And then we have about 8 more onboarding in the Tulsa area currently.
Beautiful.
So we hope to have a team of somewhere between 20 and 30 in 2021 across the state of Oklahoma.
In 4 years.
In 4 years.
4 years. Truly amazing. And I've seen the growth. And so I've just been blown away. And, Lance, we've, communicated a couple of times over the years. When did you quit your full-time job, Brittany?
Oh yeah, I did.
When did you quit?
2018.
Okay.
So
that was our guaranteed income. That was our safety net. And we just jumped. I cried. It was very hard.
One of those things too, where we are adoptive parents, and so for the first couple of years of being adoptive parents, that's really where our name of our company comes from, Forever Home. But you really all, through the minutia of going through adoption and just life going 100 million miles an hour, Brittany got to the point where she's like, I need to slow down and enjoy our family. So she took the summer off from work to just be home with the kids and the family. And then at the end of it, she's like, I think I'm going to stay home. And it was that moment we were like, oh, are you sure? Like, I just started this thing. I'm doing like 2 a week, maybe. I don't even know why I quit. Are you sure? And she's like, yes, we're going to do it. And then it was no time, really. The rest of the year, she kind of helped with it. And then the very next year, at the beginning of it, Brittany came on an ownership and we just went off from there. So she was the element we were missing for growth, because there's this, and no disrespect to one-off, home inspectors who are out there doing it, grinding, because they're doing a fantastic job. But, I couldn't do it on my own. She has all the elements that I'm missing. And as soon as we put those together, it was no time that we started growing that. And so,
see, and this is not a surprise to me hearing this. And there's so much I love about the way you guys did it, because I see lots of inspectors come and go, obviously, and have various combinations, husband, wife, partner, solo. And this is like the winning formula, in my opinion, where you have a combo, a husband-wife combo, kind of a safety net for that first year where you ramp up and kind of say, okay, we have enough income to live off. We can kind of break away. And then complementary skill sets. So to me, it's like the perfect combo. And, I think a lot of new inspectors watch these interviews and listen. And I think that can't be understated, for one. And then 2, I love that you both have non-home inspection backgrounds. That's probably why you're succeeding, is because I'm a big believer that we have a herd mentality, where they all just copy each other, and they copy non-successful single operators that are just kind of eroding their business over the years because they're comfortable. So I love that you guys have these like non-traditional backgrounds.
Well, that didn't come easy for me. So I kind of had that mentality of, well, I'm starting this, I'm going to emulate other people around me.
It's hard.
There's a few inspectors in Oklahoma that are really close to us that, we have kind of crutched on a little bit over the years and for growth. And, I kind of kept that mentality. And Brittany's like, why are we not doing it this way? And I'm like, I don't know. That's just how it's done. She's like, I don't like it. Let's do it different. So, but she comes in from a business mindset that's unlike kind of what I've had. And so it took me a while to just shut my mouth and let her take control of those things. So
yeah, I'm much more ambitious than Lance is.
Yeah.
One of the big things that, we sort of like butted heads about for a while was he wanted to do commercial inspections, and I was all about doing commercial inspections, but I was not all about doing commercial inspections under the umbrella of Forever Home. Like, there's no way it can succeed under that umbrella. Those are two, I mean, yeah, it's inspections, but they're two different industries. And so it took me about a year to convince him. That was probably our biggest battle. Like, you had to do a totally different company.
Yeah, well, because there was some companies who were really large home inspection companies who naturally gravitated into commercial, but they split up into divisions, but under one company.
Right.
But she was like, we gotta separate out. It's two different thoughts. It's two different lanes and
two different marketing plans.
Yeah.
Like, everything is different. It doesn't make sense for it to be under the same umbrella.
Yeah.
And that's kind of that mentality, right? Of coming from like a different background, business or marketing, where you just see things in a different way. Whereas the status quo, I think, just happens a lot of times. I want to get back to some of these like husband, wife, battles and partner battles in a second. But I want to talk about when you guys first got into the business, because I think there's a lot of people, especially now, right, that are thinking about getting into home inspections and don't maybe have that background. They got laid off, corporate America. What was that kind of imposter syndrome like, if it existed, in terms of the technical side, like all the things you didn't feel like you had naturally?
What do you mean? Can you say your question in a different way?
Yeah, like the home inspection side of it, since you guys didn't, you weren't plumbers or electricians.
Right.
How did that ramp up period go in that first year of learning all of the technical side and feeling like a home inspector?
Well, I think the thing for us,
I think education.
Well, I think I come from a background of education, and she comes from that background of, Brittany is the personality where if she can get her hands on something that is all about growth and learning, she's going to consume it, and she does frequently. And coming from a background of education for me and understanding the importance of education, I think that was our kind of winning factor for the first year or two, was how much can I know? How much can I train? And I started forging relationships with industry professionals who were plumbers and roofers and electricians, and going alongside them, learning from them, understanding. Because what I think the disconnect is you have this generalist who's a home inspector, and they do their inspection, but then it stops there, and then another licensed person comes on after the fact and, kind of cleans up after it. But I was like, well, I want to see it from their point of view. Because again, I am a generalist, but if what's the, oh goodness, the old saying, it's like the generalist doctor, you come in and you have an issue, they find out what the issue is, then they point you in the specialist direction. But they can't point you in that direction if they don't know what the specialist does. And I think for me, it was learning it from as many people as possible. And that's, lenders, other real estate agents, as much as we can. So I think that was kind of our big thing.
Just soaking up knowledge from everyone. Did you guys shadow any inspectors, or was it like, hey, we'll do the InterNACHI route, kind of learn the technical stuff and get with tradespeople? Yeah.
We really didn't shadow. Like I said, we had a few people that we kind of leaned on a little bit to get started.
So at the beginning, we were trying to figure out, do we want to go to work for someone else? Do we want to start our own company? And we didn't really feel great about, we tried to put ourselves in the shoes of the inspector that would be hiring us and say, okay, would we want someone to join our organization just to learn from us and turn around and become our competition? That didn't seem like the way that we really wanted to, the foothold that we wanted to start off on. And so we spent a lot of time, in the beginning, it was slower, right? We wanted to make sure it was always quality over quantity.
Yes.
And so we, made sure that we, really talked, like we have a family member that's an electrician. And so we would, pick his brain about a lot of things. And we just really tried to build our knowledge base before we went out there and tried to like fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
We really didn't want to fake anything when someone has such a huge investment, like a real estate property that's on the line. That didn't feel like good to our hearts, so we didn't want to do that.
And that's not to say there wasn't hiccups along the way. I mean, it's a learning curve for sure.
Yeah, we missed things.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those where you grow and you learn and you hurt and you keep growing, and I think that's kind of put us in the position. So
yeah, was the vision always this big, or has it evolved over time? Because I mentioned,
mine wasn't, because it was hard for me to get that first person on. And then, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, we have this person here's going to work for us. I'm thinking we have to feed their family. We have these things going on because we wanted to. And Brittany's thinking, all right, how are we going to get the next 2 or 3 on? We're going to do it. And I'm like, can we just get this first person onboarded? Again, that's my really play it safe mentality. Yeah. And she always has had the vision of how can we grow something great, but still small. I think this Brittany's mindset is, I don't want to grow this so large where you still don't get to be a part of the company. People don't see who you are. Because it's not like you're working for Lance and Brittany, you're working alongside us, because everyone has skill set we don't have. So yeah, Brittany had growth from the start.
And I asked that because you call it an organization, which I love. Like, I pay attention to language. I'm a big believer in kind of manifesting, and what you say is what you put out there. And just the fact that you call it an organization, I hear that from maybe 1 or 2% of home inspection companies, right? They just don't think of themselves as that. And I think that's an industry, maybe insecurity or problem of feeling like maybe the forgotten about or the little guy, or not something that can really scale. And I've spent a lot of time with IEB, where they work on a lot of growth minded, organizational leadership, culture, all those great things. So that was why I asked that.
Yeah.
Talk to me about the early days of that first agent or that first inspection. I always love the first inspection question of, how did you get it? And what was that little period like where you're like, we just got to get to X inspections?
Well, I'll let her talk about X inspections. I remember my very first inspection, and it was for a friend of ours who was buying a home. And he just randomly texted me. He's like, hey, do you know a home inspector? He was joking around. And I was like, okay.
Here we go.
Because I had inspected my home and, looked at friends' homes and tried to get used to.
We did a lot of mock inspections.
Yeah, a lot of mock inspections. But it's one of those things where, like, this is my first paid inspection for my friend. And I joke now, I'm like, dude, living in your home, I don't even want to know how many things you probably found wrong. I probably did, and you were like, this jerk, he's missing all this stuff. But that's how we got into our first one.
We never did it for free.
No.
Never. Good.
Never.
And that was intentional, I take it.
I have to give some advice to people. Do not give your services away for free.
Ever. Yep.
Never. No.
Yeah.
Completely agree.
He wanted to do that. I said no.
That was her business mentality. I just didn't have. I think that's why we got to where we are. But I think those first agents came.
Networking.
I'm not shy, and I like networking.
Mm-hmm.
So anytime there was like an agent event, or a lender was hosting a lunch, or a gathering in the evening, I tried to be there.
How'd you find out about them, or how'd you know those were happening?
Facebook, really. It's one of those things where initially when I first started, it was just, how many agents can I add on Facebook? But it wasn't like, I want to dial for dollars. I wanted to try to meet people. And there was, in the early days, 5 or 6 agents that just kind of came organically, that really helped us grow to the point of further growth with agents. So.
It was also the beginning of their careers too. So
That's
they
true.
weren't dedicated to any one home inspector.
Yeah.
And it just happened that they were really good at what they were doing.
Yeah.
And so their first year, was our first year, and their real estate business exploded, and we just sort of like I guess, rode that along with him. And we're really grateful to all of those agents that, that believed in us. And I think we believed in them. And we were just like, every time there was a contract, we were like, yes!
Good for you, good for us, good together. Yeah.
Did you guys bond with them over that? Because that's such a good strategy. And I always tell new inspectors, I'm saying, like, slide to the same side of the booth with new agents, because you're together growing on this journey, and you don't know if they're going to be the next 50 deal a month producer or get with a brokerage that just has all these rainmakers. So, like, do it together. Like, was it kind of just natural? Just shook hands and like, hey, you're new, we're new, let's do this.
Yeah, well, it was one of those things where some of them that started working with us, we didn't know were new. I could think of one in particular where I was on Facebook, and I remember being accepted into a real estate page on Facebook and thinking, like, do they know what I do? Like,
am I supposed to be here?
I'm supposed to be here? But I'm watching people have conversations and talk, and I started inserting myself into some of the conversations at first. And I remember just forging some relationships and then realizing they're new too, within a couple of months before really we started. And even if we're not longstanding business partners now, we're still friends with those people. You know what I mean? I think they saw the beginning of us, and I think for us, our business growth came from relationships that not were only organic, but real people. Like, we want to know who you are as a person. Who is your family? You know our family. You know us personally. And that just makes better business relationships. So
you just can't fake that stuff. And that's what I always tell people. I think a lot of inspectors think they're doing the relationship thing. And I always tell them, like, go a level deeper. You got to be vulnerable. Like the last podcast, I think 1 or 2 ago, we talked a lot about vulnerability and like personal details. Sometimes it feels uncomfortable, right? And I think the traditional inspector thinks, oh, I just do my job. You get your report. It's just like, no. This is such a relationship business, right? What?
It's more vital in the beginning than ever. Once your organization begins to grow, you can take a step back from that one-on-one vulnerability a little bit because it becomes unmanageable. But in the beginning, that's vital.
Yeah. So do you guys do like ongoing agent events, or is it just staying in touch, or like, do you talk to agents every so often or get them on the phone to kind of keep that relationship, or how does that look? Or is it just, hey, you provide a great service, they trust you and love you, and they're kind of locked in?
It's kind of bold,
So one of the things we try to have good boundaries with our business, and so we want. There's this relationship that sort of happens where sometimes we've worked with agents, and they present the "you work for me and you'll do it my way," and we've had to say, actually, we're going to work for the client, and we're going to do it the way that we do it for the client. And so I think that that is not like what most companies do. That's one of the ways that we're different. But I feel like that operating that way has gained us a lot of respect in our industry, in our community. And so what the agents know is that we're always going to take care of the client no matter what, and that the client is going to get the same experience regardless of what inspector they get or who answers the phone in our office or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing that's a uniform communication from like emails to in person to the website, everything, right? I think that's sometimes inspectors think you just have to kind of do one of those. And to me, that uniform, that's like business basics, right? Is like have a uniform brand across all touch points.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, one of the first emails, I love the automations, by the way, that Spector does. If you're not, I just have to like take a second.
Yeah.
Because I see on the Spector Facebook page all the time, they're like talking about how to automate things. And I'm like, are you guys not paying attention to actions?
Yeah. Yep. Spector Advanced. I know. Yeah.
And so I love that. And we make full use of that. And one of the first emails that goes out to realtors is, hey, this is how we do business. I hope that we're a great fit. I hope that you like the way that we do it. And, it's just sort of that introduction into this is going to be a different experience than what you've probably had before.
I love that because it's taking control of the relationship and the narrative, or so to speak, in terms of being reactive. And I think that's I'd still say majority of inspection companies react as opposed to saying, "Hey, we're a big thriving business. This is how we do things. We're working together." And I think that helps elevate our industry. To be honest, I think our industry, everyone that's watching, needs to reevaluate how they approach the relationship, because I think realtors, yeah, I can say it. I used to be one. I wasn't this way, but I definitely saw ones that kind of felt that power dynamic, and it just felt kind of icky when you'd see them kind of treat people or talk down, instead of saying like, nope, you're a business, I'm a business, we have a mutual interest here to serve this client.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, if there's anything I think myself personally has learned, and I've learned from Brittany just as we've grown, and I could give anything to new inspectors or maybe ones that are stuck at the point, is two things. Yes, it's good to build relationships with, real estate professionals. However, there's lenders, there's insurance agents, there's so many other people that you can build a good relationship with, that referrals go back and forth.
Yeah.
And it's not like a small referral group you pay to join, but just genuine relationships where they're busy. So, but then the second thing I think, kind of like she said, is decide what to be and go be it. Kind of scenario is, if you, it was hard for me too, because when I first started, it was hard to set proper boundaries. And it was, hey, you missed something. Oh yeah, it's 8 o'clock at night. I'll go do that thing. And it's like, you can't come home and work until midnight. You can't, you can't do the things that you think are going to be people pleasing. And it's not that we don't please our clients and agents, because we do, but I think that's the biggest thing that Brittany set precedent in. It was, hey, like, this is how we're going to do business. It's our business, not yours. And this is what it's going to look like. And then we have people really appreciate that, and they love working with us, and then some that don't, and that's okay.
And that's okay. You can't be, what is the word that I'm looking for? You can't be so desperate that if you set your boundary, and this is the way that we're going to run our business, and if you get that phone call and that person on the other end doesn't like what you're saying in terms of how you do what you do, then you can't crumble. You've got to stand tall and stand firm. And if they hang up the phone and they don't schedule with you, then they're not the right fit.
Yeah.
And you can't turn around and beat yourself up, and you can't be like, well, our conversion rates and all of this. No, you're building a brand, just like you said.
Yeah.
I love that confidence. This is great for new inspectors that are watching, because I think I'm trying to get more into this arena in terms of teaching, taking the time to sit back and think about your unique value propositions, what you actually have confidence in, because I don't think anyone wants people to compete on price. I think that's just bad for the industry all around. It's bad for the consumer. So I'm always telling new inspectors, like, no, take time to compete on your values, on your relationships, your networking skills. Because price, it's just such a funny thing in our industry in terms of competing on price. And I know in Oklahoma too, it's like there's certain states where I see it more than others. And I'm like, good God, this has to stop. So talk a little about, let's shift gears and talk about kind of the growth, the fun growth phase, which has been constant, it sounds like, for you all over the last couple of years. What were some of the general hurdles with decisions on growth?
Well, this year it's been, do we pace it? We know, so we're in this sort of strange position, like you mentioned earlier, where, the people that are qualifying, or the people that are applying within our industry or within our organization, are really overqualified. They are coming out of oil and gas, they're coming out of engineering, and they are, we've done a really good job of putting online and doing SEO for like bringing in applicants.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And so we get we get calls all the time. Hey, I'm a new inspector. I found your blog on how to become an inspector. Can I ask you some questions? And so that's great. But we have a form that they complete on our site, and so since COVID, it's almost been daily that someone is completing that. I think that we probably select 1 in 8, maybe.
Mhm.
1
Did
in
you even
10.
talk to further?
Yeah. And so that make it all the way down the process. But yeah, it's like, do we pace this? Because you never know how long it's going to take somebody. That's probably the biggest struggle, is not knowing from the point that they apply, at what point are they going to be in the field earning. So you could be spending all of this time, energy, and resources on this person, and it takes them 45 days, or it takes them 6 months.
Right.
And so you just never know. Like, so we've taken the position of, if a good candidate comes across, we're going to say yes, and we're just going to trust and believe that we're going to be able to provide the work for that person. But we also have a conversation with them that's like, hey, it's November. And we're going to start slowing down.
It may slow down. We don't know. Who knows? This year's crazy.
But I hope that answers your question.
Totally.
We hate to say no to anyone that could really add value to our organization, because
there's talented people out there right now, and there's really, like you said, they're just the nature of our economy and people that are looking. It is kind of like, let's grab these like great talented people that can help us grow.
Yeah, it feels scary. Sorry.
No, yeah.
It feels scary too, because it's like, oh my God, how could we really do 15 to 20 inspectors just in Tulsa? But then I pull the stats, and it's like, well, we're really only capturing 10% of the market right now. So we have 90% of the market to go in Tulsa County. That's plenty of room for growth.
Right.
I'm going to pause right there, because that gets me pumped just the way you phrase that. Because like you said, we're only capturing 10%. There's 90 to go. I love that. No one thinks that way in this industry. It's freaking amazing. I get so pumped, because that's domination. That's like, you just casually said it, like, yeah, we're going to get 100% of this market. I just want to highlight that. Like, even thinking that way is just different.
And I was saying, I was going to say a second ago, was because we use the vernacular organization, we are growing, and there's so many different roles to be had in the organization. And so when we see someone and we see a strength that they have, we're already trying to think, what is that person going to be great for in 2-3 years?
Oh yeah.
Like, what is that like? Because, we also have, we have created continuing education courses for agents, and our company and myself are a certified school to teach that anywhere in the state of Oklahoma.
Beautiful.
So, I'm thinking this man or woman who we're interviewing right now, they're going to be fantastic at teaching one day. Like, they just have that energy about them. Or we have people, they come from like an engineering background, and we're like, how are we going to parlay that into an engineering department if we do something or whatever? So it's not just how many home inspectors can we have, it's what is this really going to look like in 5 years? Which is, I think that's a big hurdle too, because you look at people, you're like, this person's going to be great, but then who really knows in a year what it's going to be? Right.
But having some sense of vision, and I think everyone can learn from this, multis, where like, are you talking with your people about the vision for them for 1 year, 2 years out? Because I think no one wants to feel like a exchangeable, interchangeable commodity, right, to the business they're working for. And I think people buy in and invest when you say, hey, I do have a vision for you. Tell me if this matches up with your vision. How do we get there? Then they're going to bust their ass for you, right? Because they see that you're investing in them.
One of the things that I think is really unique about the way that we add team members, and one of the conversations, I always encourage them, talk to every home inspection company in our area, and then choose to come to work for us, because I don't want you to have, buyer's regret when you join us. I don't want you to think that the grass is greener on the other side.
Yeah.
It's not.
We are saying things to people I don't think people hear. Speak to other home inspectors and see how they're doing it. Call all of our contractors personally and talk to them and ask them how their experience is, the good and the bad, and really weigh it out for yourself. We're an open book. Like,
we're completely transparent about what we earn. one of the things that we do too, so Oklahoma doesn't require, we have a very specific onboarding and training and apprenticeship process.
Mm-hmm.
And so, Oklahoma doesn't require, we require the NHIE, but then beyond that, there is no shadowing
some
or
CE
apprentice,
courses and stuff every
like
year
that.
to keep your license.
So we've
That's
developed
minimal.
our own in-house apprenticeship program that we send all of our inspectors through.
Wow.
And we have lead inspectors, and those inspectors are paid more to train the inspectors that are coming into our organization. And then, at every mark, so for example, at every 100 inspections, you're gonna get an increase in pay.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the things that we say is, more than likely, with every other organization that you're gonna attempt to join, as soon as you're in the door, you've hit the ceiling. And that's not what happens with our organization. Like, we are planning to cross state lines. We are planning to have, we're going to need an entire, and we're pretty close, where we're going to need an entire training department, an entire marketing department.
Right.
And then, like he said, we plan to have our own, we already do, but we plan to have our own physical location in terms of training
Headquarters.
that they can just come and pick up a class at any time.
Yeah.
I smiled so big when you all said talk to all the other companies in the area, because that's with Spectora, that's like my favorite line, because it just puts the confidence out there to say, do your research. Like, we might not be the best fit for everybody, but I have a good idea that we're a good fit for you, but do your research, and then they come back because they're like, you're right. Damn it. You guys are the best.
We even say that to agents and clients too. So I mean, it's those things where, it can kind of be a salesy tactic, but sometimes they're just being genuine. And it's just, hey, like, you are given a list of 3 or 4 other inspectors that somebody trusted to provide you a service. Call those people, see what they're going to offer you, see what they're going to be able to do for you. And then if we're that one, you better believe we're going to do the best job ever. But utilize, those relationships that someone has already forged. And again, do your research, because we do our research, trust me. So every agent that works for us, we do our research. We know our lenders, we know our roofers, we research, we know who we're pairing business with at every moment.
Yeah.
So
there's some psychology behind that line, but I caution anyone that's listening, like, know yourself and your business before you say that, because you can't be half-assed and 75% of the things you do and be like, oh yeah, shop around. You're never going to hear from anyone again. You gotta be kick-ass. Yeah.
If you see that they're not calling you back,
something's broken.
Right. Maybe don't do that at first. Don't call us back, and that's great. And I think it goes for us too, that we know there's other really great companies in the area. Like, we know there's other fantastic home inspectors, and everybody offers something a little different. So, but yeah, I don't want to come off as pompous or arrogant. I think it's just, hey, we're really good at what we do. We believe in what we do. And there's probably some other people that do too. So figure it out.
It's confidence. It's, it's knowing that you have the proof, behind the curtain. And I think that everyone has to build up to that, or kind of find that in themselves, or else they shouldn't be, using that line. And I like that you mentioned there's other great companies. One commonality I noticed between huge multis, big and growing companies, is they have that abundance mentality of like, hey, there's enough market share for multiple companies to really do well, to generate 7 figures, whatever. And I think just that mentality alone is kind of underrated. Would you agree? As opposed to like kind of this like ball up and like not talk about anything, not shake hands with people. Like,
well, go ahead. No, go ahead.
You know what is so interesting? It's that, and we have this conversation so often, because we get mentioned on social media in a sort of like passive aggressive kind of way.
How so?
Well, it's like, there's this home inspector in Tulsa that is giving away free termite inspections. Obviously that's us. We're the only ones that are doing that. So it's like, and they just sort of have this little
full-on conversation about it, which is fine.
Well, no, they just have this like little rant on social media about it.
I might have an idea what you're talking about. I think I know of an inspector or two in your state that that I might know, but yeah.
Yeah, and so we're like, why are you complaining about it? Just go get it. Go get the license. Like,
Well,
we're not, I mean, it doesn't make sense to me. It's like, if you want to compete, let's compete.
well,
Let's go.
that's the one thing. Well, the one thing
But
that
let's
she
not
told me.
complain about the
Yeah.
fact that someone is doing something that
Yeah.
you're just choosing not to do.
Yeah. Well,
Classic sign you're doing something right.
She was like, hey, stop looking at other companies on how we're going to do what we're going to do. Like, we're just going to do what we do. Because you look at someone's pricing or what they offer, and you really don't know how they got to that point. You don't know why they're offering that pricing, what they're doing on the back end to get there. So you just see, oh, they're just giving away free stuff. They're ruining it for everybody. I'm like, there's a process we're working through. Like, there's a reason we're doing the things we're doing.
I'm not giving it away for free. There's a financial strategy on the tax side of it, which, it's like, it's not just giving stuff away for free.
People, well, they're watching you. So that's like, okay, you're doing something right. People are paying attention to you and referencing you or mentioning your name. And two, people just will hate on maybe what they don't understand. They don't have the savvy to put package deals together or have any upsells after the fact. They just more simple-minded in that way, but it means you're doing something right.
Yeah. Well, we see groups doing stuff that we want to do one day too. And we're like, we got to get there. Like, we want to be there now. And we know it takes some time. But like, they're doing it. They're doing a great job. And we're like, one day we'll get there. So.
But what we do is go, wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Like, that's cool.
Yeah.
Good for them. They're doing some cool stuff.
Right. And I think that support in our industry is it's grown a lot. I think it when we got into the business, it felt non-existent. It felt very toxic and forums. And I was just like, gosh, do I really want to be in this industry around this energy and these types of people? And then we gravitated towards people like yourselves, other companies that are growing and thriving and getting with IEB and just being like, wow, there's a whole nother side of this industry that is taking off, that is exploding. And the businesses that are kind of along for it are going with it. Talk to me about ancillary services, because you guys are obviously going to dominate the world, but tell me about the decision from going from just home inspections to branching out to other things, because that's a big leap, I think, for a lot of inspectors, right? A lot of them it's an investment. It's kind of a leap of faith in a way. How did you?
I think we're different.
Yeah.
With other, some of the other companies that are our size are offering things like sewer scope. They're offering like mold and, all of these auxiliary services. And honestly, we don't offer any of that. We do home inspections and we do termite inspections. We don't do termite treatment. And that's on purpose, because what I've found is that the more auxiliary services we offer, the more difficult it is to duplicate what we do. Because we want every client to have exactly the same experience. Then that means that I have to have however many home inspectors I have to have an equal number of equipment and people in order to provide like the sewer scopes and the mold and all of that. And I feel like it slows down our growth to add all of those things. So when we onboard, you get your home inspection license and you get your termite license, and that's it. And then we just duplicate that over and over again. And then any other services, we don't really want to take business away from the mold inspectors, and we don't really want to take business away from the plumbers, and they do a great job. And that actually, we get a lot of referrals that come back from those relationships. So we don't really want to dominate every single industry. We just really want to be on the top in terms of inspections.
See, this is great. I want to interject real quick. This is really refreshing to hear, because I think there is sometimes a perception that you need to jump into 5 other, other services to really grow. And you guys have done it without that, which I think is a great case study in dominate one thing or 2 things in this case and do it really well. And then do you outsource if people are like, hey, I do need a so-and-so inspection? I'm guessing you have trusted partners and connections that you link them up with, right?
Yeah. And it's one thing too, I knew when we were going to start doing our own termite inspections and we got our ODAS certifications for everybody, that it was going to feel like we were just turning our back on relationships we created. But it's no, like whatever we find, if there's business to be had afterwards, you're the go-to person that will hopefully do that treatment and go through that. So, we're still trying to keep those relationships. And I think too, for Brit, as she's kind of, analyzed everything, and I keep going back to her because she really is the brains of what's growing in the business. I'm kind of the boots on the ground, right? And she's really behind the scenes, seeing everything as it plays out. Is that you kind of have to look at what is really needed initially in the inspection, and can you offer that? So when you think of like mold, or you think of, we don't really deal with radon here in Oklahoma much, but you think of all these services that can kind of come after the home inspection in some regard. Yep. It's like, what is done now? So it's like, there's a home inspection, there's termite, maybe a structural engineer is present, but outside of that, there's very few things that can come later. And I think that's where we're just kind of like, what do we not need to do? We don't need to be in a foot race with 12 other companies offering 400 things. It's let's stick to the 2 or 3 things we're really good at, and let's just provide that for now.
We've decided that the only other thing that we'll add is a team of structural engineers.
Yeah.
And those engineers will bounce back and forth between our commercial and our residential companies. So that's going to be it in terms of the services I think that we offer. I don't think that we'll expand outside of those 3 areas.
Yeah.
I like the way you worded that though, because I think everyone wants a one size fits all. And it's like, no, figure out what needs to be done at the initial inspection, because it's different in other states. So I tell everyone, like, don't do 5 things or none just because Lance and Brittany said so. It's like, evaluate what needs to be done at the time. Here's an interesting one for you, because you guys have this model. You are a source of business and leads for your partners, right? Do you fundamentally believe that you should, and you don't have to answer this if you don't want, like the referral nature of our business, right? Some inspectors say, yeah, I'm a source of business, I should get a referral fee. Some states it's illegal. Some people frown on it. Some people say, yeah, it's just how the world works with referral fees. Like, where do you stand on that? Because inspectors can be a big source of business for lots of other industries. And I think it's a unique place to be in the home inspection transaction. What's your take on that?
We don't take referral fees from anybody. And I think it comes down to, okay, if I were the client, would I want a really genuine referral that's going to come my way that isn't, hooked on to any sort of commission that the person that's referring is giving me. Right. I want a totally unbiased. So that's one of the words that we use a lot. The reason why we don't provide termite treatment is because we want to provide a completely unbiased termite report. And so it just goes back to what is the best for the client, what makes the client feel the most comfortable. And so fundamentally, I just disagree with referral fees, because I want to be referred not because I'm giving you a kickback, but because I'm the best at what I do.
Yeah. I mean, it's more, again, just kind of to us, to each his own, but it's more of just a really organic, better relationship where I don't need to give you something so you give me something back. Like, we don't need to be a back scratcher type of relationship. It's just, hey, you do a really good thing, and so do we. And so the 2 or 3 people say we refer to for roofing, they do really good at their job, and that's good enough for me. Because if I tell somebody, or if I refer somebody out, they better be doing a good job, because that hurts everybody's business overall when it's just, if I'm just sending people out so I can make money. And there's the legalities of you're not supposed to be finding things in an inspection and, trying to work on it yourself or get someone there to make money. There's all sorts of those moral issues,
and hey, listen, if I refer my client to a roofer, and that roof, and because I think that roofer is the best roofer in town, and that roofer feels like another home inspector is the best home inspector in town, I'm not going to change my referral. I'm taking care of my client. That's why I'm in business.
Yeah.
Love it. And I think as an inspection organization grows in value, that's part of the value I think people pay for. And so I think, like, home inspection prices can go up the more value of that network. So it's like, it's kind of doing it the right way. When if you raise prices over time, it's like, wow, we also have an amazing network of contractors that we hook you up with, that we connect you with, that we don't get paid for. So when you're paying up front for that inspection, you're getting all this kind of on the back end along with it. So it's another way of doing it.
Yeah.
I wanted to mention earlier too, I went to your website while you were talking about the hiring thing, and I love the little banner at the top, because then you're always hiring. You just leave that there. It's like you're always hiring, and people just stumble across it, which is great.
We have the best people. I just
Yeah.
have to take a second. Our inspectors are just the most wonderful people.
Yeah.
And we've just gotten so lucky.
Yeah. Absolutely. We got a review this morning.
Without them.
It had nothing to do with our company, just the inspector.
Yeah.
And so she wasn't prompted to give any reviews. No one asked her to, nothing. It was just, she popped on and said, hey, I just need to say something really good about your inspector, Chris. And then she just gave a really lengthy explain of like how she really enjoyed him being there. And, she didn't mention our company. She didn't mention our policies or anything. It was just, this is a really genuine person. And so when Brittany says we have really good people, we really do. Like, we really have amazing men and women working for us. So I don't know.
Appreciate your humility. I bet it's more than luck. I think you create your luck. And I think just because of how you guys are, how you engage, your genuine nature, that you attract that kind of person, right? So I think like there's certain people that attract like-minded people. So kudos on that. That's just going to keep growing and finding you. Talk to me a little about expanding into new markets. I'm always fascinated and in love when obviously our people, our tribe is growing into new markets. It's great for everyone. What are some of the challenges with saying, all right, we're going to jump into this new market?
Distance.
Yeah, I think it's distance. It's because when you're up here in Tulsa, you kind of get to see everything. But then when you're 4 hours away in a different part of Oklahoma, it's like I don't get to be as involved
right
after the initial training and everything we do.
Because of the way that we've set up our apprenticeship, they have to do a number of inspections where they shadow a lead inspector on our team, and then a lead inspector shadows them. And then, so that doesn't happen like for the first inspector that we put in any city, because we don't have a lead inspector there. So that leaves that inspector to travel here. So they really have to make quite a big sacrifice, come and spend a week or two here in Tulsa in order to train and then go back.
Yeah.
And then just, we've got to turn the marketing on. And so the timing of it and the distance has been, it's been a learning experience. Yeah. We've given ourselves plenty of grace with that. And we've asked them to give us plenty of grace too. Sure. It's like, we're going to try our very best to make sure that this is like very fluid. But like, for example, we had one of our inspectors from Ardmore. It's just been really tough for him to get up here. And I've like turned on the marketing and then turned off the marketing and turned on the marketing. So it's like, and when I say marketing, I mean like contacting agents there and turning the SEO, like doing the SEO work and adding content for that area, because I don't want to turn that all on and then the phone is ringing for us to get inspections. Like, oh, hey, just kidding.
No one's there.
Not ready yet.
Yeah.
That doesn't look good.
Yeah. I think in tandem with that, the only other thing is the relationships that we built here is you don't have as many of them in other areas. So, I mean, you want to tackle a different part of Oklahoma necessarily for residential. We don't work in often. It's like, well, who are those trusted people down there? Who are those roofers and plumbers and all lenders, insurance agents? Like you have to really go down there and forge
starting a business from square one all over again.
Yeah. And until we're that biggest company organization where people just know who we are, you really have to do that in those key areas. And so I think that's what will take the longest to get.
Because it's a lot of research and outreach, right? And just kind of like you said, back to the hungry boots on the ground, like what events, because would you travel and go to events in a city that's 4 hours away to start shaking hands and meeting people? Not now, obviously with COVID, but
we could travel to provide continuing education courses to brokerages. That's what we do.
That's a big game changer, right? Being able to
taking our inspectors with us to meet and greet.
Yeah, that value added. So it's not just showing up to a mixer and walking around and people are like, why?
Yeah, use us.
Another new person in our town. Great. But it's what value added can we give them? And education is always one of them. And then just kind of start that way. So
we specifically chose, so Tulsa is northeastern Oklahoma. We're both from the southern border, the two largest towns on the border where we border Texas. And so I grew up there and he grew up there. So when we chose to go into another market, we didn't just choose Oklahoma City because it's close. We chose those two cities because we already have a network of people there, that can sort of like recommend us and spread the word. And we know, I would say, a handful of agents there.
Yeah.
And those areas are really hungry. So when I did the market research down there, I didn't really, I hope that this doesn't offend anyone that might be a Spectora inspector listening to this that's in Southern Oklahoma. But we saw an opportunity to come in and really capitalize on the lack of online presence that exists in those small towns. So
Yep.
it was a strategic move to go there first.
I think it's just knowing your market and who's going online to look for services, and they're looking at those reviews and looking at everything that, if you can capitalize on that and see that the need's not there, it's not very hard to push for that initially and just kind of let it do its thing. So.
Oh, completely agree. It's so refreshing. I think online market research in an hour, can tell you a huge story of where to go and where to press to kind of get in front of people.
Mm-hmm.
But not inspector strengths. Like I said, most technician mindsets aren't going to maybe check Instagram presence or SEO rankings or who's running ads, all these little things that go into it.
Mm-hmm.
That's fascinating. I like hearing that because I think everyone wants to get into other markets, but they don't maybe get the cadence of the timing of turning the marketing easy button or this marketing switch on or pressing the marketing easy button, because there is none, right?
That'd be neat.
Yeah.
So tell me a little, I just want to shift gears and ask, what's interesting to you all at this phase of your business? Kind of like, where do you look for inspiration? Where do you look for motivation? Who are you networking with? Like, just what's interesting to you at this point?
I think within, we'll probably have two different answers because we come from two different places. I think what interests me is, we really haven't talked about our commercial company much in this, but, we decided, so through Internachi, who we're associated with, they started a sister company, CCPIA, which is all commercial.
Mm-hmm.
So we knew we wanted to do something different, and we knew that there was a need for commercial and that a lot of people weren't meeting that need. Or they were doing small commercial stuff like an office building or small apartment that was comfortable to them. But outside of that, no one was really doing it.
Again, the online market research led me to find that there is really nobody offering. I couldn't find a website for our area that was a dedicated commercial inspector. There seemed to be home inspectors offering commercial inspections, or these large structural engineering companies who were offering these packages that were really expensive. And so there was, have a home inspector do your commercial property and they might not be qualified to look at all of the systems. You don't really know, you can't tell because there's just like a paragraph on their website. And then those structural engineering companies. And I was like, man, Lance, I really think that I can build a site where we can just come in and just take up all of that space in there. And we did it. And we actually just launched that company. We started building it January 2019 and we launched in October of 2019. And it is, the growth rate is faster than our home inspection company.
Yeah. That's what
wow.
It's also on Spector, by the way. Thank you very much.
Right.
Amazing.
Well, and I think that's that kind of growth thing for us that we just kind of see a need and we try to go meet it the best that we can.
Mm-hmm.
And we just, for me, my biggest hang up was always, I need to get all the information. I need to have all the tools. I need to understand it. Brittany's like, just go start and then we'll grow from there. Like meet the needs that you can now and then expand. Because my knowledge of commercial and the certifications and licenses I held a year ago compared to now are vastly different. So
yeah.
We actually traveled to Denver to go to CCPIA's courses in person, which was huge. It was really helpful.
Yeah. So, I mean, I did that. And then, going through IBC and ASTM and going through all this vernacular that's commercial and getting all that. It's been long, but it's one of those things too, where I guess if you just wait to have all the tools in your tool belt, you'll never really get started.
Exactly.
You just go, and then you learn along the way, wipe your face off and keep going. So
Yeah. Build the plane as you're flying it, right? Don't just sit there and prepare it all along. That's such a good lesson. I think like I always constantly need that lesson. My wife is kind of like the go-getter. That's like, let's just start and we'll figure it out. I'm just like, no, but we need to prepare and research more. And she's just like, no, dude, just go. Which is great to have that dynamic. I think both sides of the brain are needed for businesses to grow.
I think in terms to answer your question, who is our inspiration? I mean, it might sound cheesy, but us. I mean, really just learning from our own mistakes, constantly looking back to see, okay, what didn't we do well that we can improve on, and then where do we want to go?
Yeah.
We really don't want to mimic anyone else. We try really hard not to do that. But in terms of just like, who is our inspiration?
I mean, on the business side, it could be different for you. I think for me on the inspection side, it's almost every inspector is my inspiration. Here's why I say that. I understand it's hard to get on like a Facebook Brotherhood or something forum, and there's just a lot of negativity that pours into that, because there is. Because there's somebody new and they post a picture and everyone just wants to attack, and you're just well, if you're new, you're starting somewhere. I understand it. But every time I see a post come through on those, I stop and I read it. And I see, what are they talking about? What can I learn from this? And so I think, all of these people are really an inspiration. There's some people in other states that are really doing amazing. And it's like, what are they doing? I don't want to emulate it, but I want to learn. I want to be excited about that. I want to hop on and read their blogs. I want to see what they're talking about.
I think what inspires us is really just to change the industry, to be a healthier industry. Too, we have a blurb about that on our website, that we just want to leave real estate better than we found it.
Yeah.
And so just trying to be a light
Yeah.
in an industry that's kind of dark and gray. And
that's how I've always done it. So that's how we're always going to do it. We're like, no, we're going to buck the system a little bit and try a little different. It's worked out in our favor in some regard. But
it looks like it's working. And I absolutely love that. I think that's so refreshing for me to hear. That inspires me. And Lance, what you said kind of makes me think of a quote I saw from this guy, Chamath Palihapitiya, is like, big investor. It's on CNBC all the time. He always talks about being like an astute observer of the present. And like, it sounds like you just really observe, even silently sometimes observe what's going on in our circles in our industry. And I think that's what the smartest people in the room do. They're typically just observing, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, even you just made that comment. I saw a quote on Facebook earlier, and it was, if you don't have a mentor that's almost younger than you, that can help you understand the language and the growth of things going on, then you're not in the right place. Because I think a lot of people in the industry, they want to look to the oldest person doing or who's been doing it the longest, but it doesn't mean it's been done well. It's, who is relevant now almost, and who understands the language of it, who understands the growth. And Brittany's really good at projections. Like, she can sit down and she geeks out on Spectora all the time, where she sits down and she's like, I can create these numbers and I have these projections. She's like, Lance, come here and sit down and look at this. I pulled up all this real estate data. Check it all out. Look where we're at. And I'm like, yeah. How long have you been over here working on this stuff? She's like, I love this stuff. And I don't know. I think we're kind of our own inspiration. The world around us is kind of our own inspiration. Everyone that's doing the job is an inspiration. And I don't know. It's just, we're in the present. That's all we have. Because if we sit here and bang our heads on the wall about 2020 and how it's gotten us to where we are, and who the heck knows what's going to happen in 2021, I almost say we don't really have time to worry about 2021. Like, we're still in November. Like, and that this is the time where everyone's like, look, we're going to slow down. And Brittany's like, why are we going to slow down? She's like, well, we're not going to slow down. We're not going to use that language. And so it's like, we're going to be busy now. So let's go be busy now, and we'll just live now. So,
So well said. Love it. Absolutely love this. This is so good. What else have we not covered in the last couple of minutes? I want to be respectful of your guys' time.
Yeah.
Got a couple minutes left here, but anything else you want to put out into the universe?
Yes, I do want to put something out in the universe, and I'm glad that you asked me this. Okay, so
We went on this the whole
Let me just
interview.
get real close.
I want to get out of the room real quick. I'm not a part of this. What she's gonna say.
So I just want to mention the word growing pains for just a second. And if I see anything that's outside of like the inspection on the Spectora user group, which I read like almost every single one of those, by the way.
I'm sorry for your pain and your loss.
But a lot of people, I love getting on there because there are so many new entrepreneurs and people who are new to Spectora and just not, and just needing some, I don't know if that user group existed, or maybe I didn't know that it existed whenever we first started, and it would have just been so helpful. But one of the things that I see this conversation happening over and over and over and over is, how are you guys doing the administrative side of everything? Because we totally get it. Like, doing inspections is a full-time job. Doing marketing is a full-time job. Answering the phone is a full-time job. And so it's really impossible to be a growing full-time inspector and to do all of those things well. Yeah. And so with these growing pains, just recognize, if I had to give any advice to people that are coming into this early on, recognize the growing pain and have a strategy around each one of those growing pains. So well before you get to that point, for example, I see people like, I need someone to answer my phones when I'm in the inspection. Yeah, that's awesome. And I know that Spectora, pairs business with several companies. And I see all of these questions. Should I use a call center? Should I use a virtual administrative company? The prices are all over the place for this type of thing. And so I want to plug a company real quick if I can, if that's okay.
Of course.
So I spent like all of 2020 bitching to my friends about they understood my pains because they worked in property management for probably collectively they almost have over 15 years of experience together. And then one day I was like doing the market research and I was like, listen guys, I really think you need to start a company. And if you don't start the company, I'm going to start the company. And because I need some help and I need good people that I can rely on. And so they started this company and it was really fun to help them get this off the ground. And we poured in our knowledge in terms of inspections and Spectora. So they've built this company where they are targeting Spectora specific inspectors to do admin work for them. They're called Small Hive Solutions. They're based out of Texas. You're not going to get a better customer. No, I don't think that you're going to find a third-party company that's going to give your client a better customized customer service experience than what they give. I have not been disappointed in the least.
Well, their niche is home inspectors. So I mean, that's what they're
doing. Good. What's the name of it again?
Small Hive Solutions.
Yeah.
Small Hive. I think I spoke with her at one point. I think you hooked me up with her. I reached out. I reached out and was like, hey, let's talk. Like anyone that's specific to our platform and trying to help our people, let's do it. 100%.
That's a huge
They're
growth.
Great. They spent some time really learning Spectora, how to use it really well. It's just been great.
Well, it was co-signed by you two. So I was like, okay, like I can immediately reach out to this person, feel like they're good business people doing good things and can co-sign it. So I'll reach out again and see if we can, add more integration points because I think if it's working for you guys, guarantee it's going to work for 99% of people.
I mean, they're managing my 5 inspectors that are here in Tulsa, and I have no hesitation that they're going to be able to manage the other markets as well. However, I will say that we do have some systems that are already set up that make their job really efficient. And
through
Spectora
systems, yeah.
So they do want to work with inspectors on getting the automations done and the actions done with them and helping the inspectors to set those things up so that they're spending less time billing you in the long run, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yep. Love it.
Yeah. I can't imagine how much of Spectora is not being utilized to its full potential
Yes.
by the inspectors in the field. Because I remember when I first started, I'll end on this. When I first started, I was strictly using it to just kind of put stuff on a calendar and use the template to do my inspections. When Brittany sat down, she's like, we're missing 400 other things we could be doing to this platform. And that was before we started doing beta and growing and adding all these new features. And it's just like, if I go on to the developers platform page where people put their want tos, their nicenesses, I'm sure Brittany's name's on there 400 times. I haven't looked at it. She's probably like, let me do this. Let's add this. How about this? So
yeah. I will say, as your first growing pain, if you're not fully utilizing Spectora and all of the automations,
do it now.
Do that before you add a person.
Yeah.
Because
that's great advice.
The things that you have built in terms of like the automated emails and the text messages and all of that is the equivalent of hiring a person, and it's a whole lot cheaper to add that for a couple dollars per inspection than to go out and hire and train someone. So great job. Thanks for giving us those resources.
And it's just going to get better. Hopefully you guys are joining some of these roundtables that we're doing where we're doing these small.
Yeah, we signed up for one in December. So
sweet. Yeah. I think, after this, I'm sure people are going to want to connect and talk with you guys and just kind of get together. Speaking of that, where is the best place for people to either reach out, say people are like, wow, I just really like them, I want to reach out to them? Just the website, contact us, or what's the best way?
They can, or we can give them, you can just do that. You can reach out through our website, or my email is just lance@foreverhomeinspection.com. They can send an email that way if they want to just reach out. Find us on Facebook. We're both on Facebook as well. Our company's on Facebook. So if they want Facebook messages, or
you're both helpful in the user group too. I appreciate that, Brittany. I know you've kind of come on the scene, and I'm just like, she's just helping people out left and right. This is amazing.
Yeah. I usually will message people personally. I'll see something go down. I'm like, this was unnecessary. This is great. And then I'll message somebody personally and be like, I think you got some great information today, or whatever. So I'm not as much on the scene as Brittany is. So
you're the behind the scenes guy.
Yeah, but she does it well. So she should keep doing it.
Well, being on there is just part of my market research, right?
Right.
I'm trying to just figure out what is going on in other people's companies.
Yeah.
So good. Well, guys, this has been amazing. I really appreciate the time. I'm glad we finally got together. I know you guys are busy growing. We're busy growing. So it's amazing to have literally an hour and 10 minutes to just chat and talk shop and talk about things we don't probably talk about very often.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We appreciate you guys.
We'll do it again.
Yeah.
Give us a ring.
Yeah. Well, I listen to so many, I'm a podcast junkie. And so there's so many ones where every so often they just get on and just kind of shoot the shit and just like throw around ideas, brainstorm, kind of just have that fun, like light the brain up session. And I could see us doing one of those where we just get on and talk about how we can innovate and do things differently and just like change up the industry. That would be fun.
We're out there with a few other companies. We'll do it. We love
it. All right. Right on. Well, thanks again. You guys have a great rest of your week, and we'll talk soon.
Okay.
Thanks.
Take
Bye.
care.
All right. See ya.